Foolish mortal, you have inadvertently tuned into the forbidden frequency. It's Zombie Astronaut's Frequency of Fear.
Welcome, fellow astronauts, to the Zombie Astronaut's Frequency of Fear. I'm your host, the Zombie Astronaut. I've recently decided to take up gardening. I picked the seed up from a friend of Dr. Despicable's. Now, I'm not the most patient person, so I wanted something I could see immediate results from. So, I had Doc get me something biogenetically engineered to sprout mere minutes after I stick it in the dirt. And to help move things along, I bought Miracle Gross. When a zombie decides to take up gardening on a whim, he turns to Miracle Gross. Miracle Gross's revolutionary formula contains the finest, richest soil to promote deep, strong roots and has almost 5 pounds of weapons-grade uranium to cause instant mutation and unnatural animation in most plants. When you need a prize-winning, horrifying carnivorous plant, use Miracle Gross. Warning: high toxicity level may cause extra limbs and flesh-eating tendencies in children under 27. Okay, so I just put the seed in the potting soil, pour in a little Miracle Gross, and wait. And while we're waiting for results, let's listen to another horrible horticulture success story. I certainly hope I'll end up with a plant like the one in our next radio show. A group of bored friends decide to take a walk in the woods, not realizing they have a date with destiny, a scheduled appointment with a killer tree grown from a seed smeared with witch's blood. Listen now to dark fantasy, The Demon Tree.
Fantasy. I am the spirit of the demon tree.
3 pounds on the Jack of Diamonds.
You should tear your money up, Humphreys. It would last you longer.
Perhaps you're right, Crane. But this way I get a sense of honest toil. I say, isn't anyone else betting?
Oh, let's quit. I'm tired of losing.
Oh, look here, old girl. Could I loan you a few pounds?
No, thank you, Crane. I have enough to get me back to London. If we ever do get back.
Now, why do you say that, Clara? It's only a matter of a stage getting through here to the resort and taking us out of this beastly place.
Beastly place is right. Why people come here for a rest is more than I can determine. Honestly, I've never spent such an uncomfortable week in all my life.
Well, think of me. I've been here 3. So have you, Humphreys.
Oh, look here, you two. It's 3 o'clock. They're expecting the stage around 8 tonight. What do you say the 3 of us go for a bit of a walk through the forest?
I say, why not? Oh, here comes Danvers. Perhaps he'll join us.
Anything to get away from this place. Good afternoon, Danvers.
Greetings, good people. I take it you're no happier than when I left you a while ago.
Oh, the place is as gloomy as a morgue. We've just agreed to take a walk in the forest back of the inn. You're invited to come along if you like.
Sounds like a good enough way to pass the time.
Oh, good. And we all go together. Besides, I'm quite interested in that forest out there. You remember, of course, the story the night clerk told us last evening.
Yes, I don't like him. He talks through his nose. People should talk through their mouths.
No. I mean, what he told us about the forest.
What about the forest? I didn't hear it, Humphreys.
Well, the clerk said it was a gorgeous place. Lots of beautiful foliage, vivid colors, clear water lakes.
But nobody goes there. So beautiful.
That's just it, Clara. You see, people have gone there and never come back.
Rubbish. A lot of nonsense. Why, the clerk is just superstitious, that's all.
I am inclined to agree with you, Danvers. Why, he even told us an absurd story about a tree out there in that forest that's supposed to strangle people.
Strangle them? How?
Oh, I don't know. With its branches, I suppose. Just some absurd legend the people around here like to believe.
I believe it's more than just a legend, Crane.
Eh?
And what makes you say that, old man?
Here, I talked to the clerk again later last night. He dug out this old newspaper clipping for me. Read it, Danvers, aloud.
Old is right. Almost illegible.
Well, read it.
It says, London, England, April 21st, 1857. It is reported that Sir Horace Wakefield, Earl of Dorset, was found strangled last night in Barlow Forest. His body was discovered entangled in the branches of a huge oak tree.
Oh.
Go on, read the rest of it.
Earl's death recalls to mind the weird tale of the witch of Barlow Forest, who is said to have lived in the 16th century. An evil old hag who, upon having a falling out with Sir Thomas Holly Wakefield, cursed him and warned him that any of his descendants who entered Barlow Forest would surely perish.
Charming old girl, wasn't she?
No. Don't scoff until you've heard the rest of it.
Go on, Danvers.
She also added that any person or persons with the Wakefield descendant would also die. She is said to have planted an acorn, smeared with her own blood. The acorn is supposed to have grown into a towering oak, capable of moving about from place to place in Barlow Forest. Sir Horace is the sixth of the Wakefield line to have perished by strangulation in the forest.
Thomas Hurley Wakefield. I wonder.
You wonder what, Crane?
My mother's name was Wakefield. I was just wondering if she was related to Sir Thomas.
Oh, of course not, Crane. It's just a story.
What an extraordinary story, wouldn't you say?
Yes. Wouldn't do very well as a bedtime story, would it?
A demon tree. I wonder if we could find it.
Well, let's have a try, shall we?
I'm game.
Don't let anybody say I'm not.
Then let's go. Oh, Humphrey's going along. I say, Humphreys, are you daydreaming?
No, I was just thinking. Wouldn't it be odd if the whole thing were true? If we all went in there and didn't come back?
Well, do you gentlemen see any way we can get into that forest?
It's as dense as Father Time's beard. Doesn't seem to be an opening anywhere.
I think we can get in over here.
Oh, all right. Coming, Danvers.
There seems to be a footpath over here. Only one along this line of the forest. There, see?
Oh, yes, you're right. Come on, I'll lead. We'd better remember the way back. It'd be hard to get out of here if we didn't know where this opening is.
Don't worry, I'll remember it. I'm good at landmarks.
Go ahead, Clara. I'm right behind you.
I say, do any of you feel that?
Feel what, Danvers?
A chill. I feel like it's 20 degrees colder in this place.
I feel that way, too.
So do I.
It's naturally cooler in the woods where the sun doesn't shine.
But not this much cooler.
I don't like this place. I'm for going back to the inn.
Oh, let's get on ahead a little ways. I say, it is pretty in here.
Pretty or not, it gives me the creeps.
It isn't the kind of cold caused by climatic changes.
What was that, Denver?
I said it's a different kind of cold. It's the kind that creeps up your spine when some evil comes over you.
Oh, now, Danvers. You're just letting that newspaper story play on your mind.
Wait a minute.
Eh?
Look! That tree there in front of us. It looks like a human giant.
Oh, you're right, Danvers.
I could swear it moved just a moment ago.
It did move. I saw it, too.
That's the strangest looking tree I ever saw. Look at that bark. I wonder if...
Crane! What's wrong, man?
I just touched the bark of that tree and it didn't feel like bark at all.
What?
No, it felt like human skin.
Here, let me feel it. By heaven, it's true. does feel like skin. Warm and smooth and soft.
Yes. It feels that way to me, too.
Here. Humphreys, you touch it.
No, thanks.
Go ahead, Humphreys. Feel it.
I have no desire to. You see, I'm sure you're right.
What's that?
I feel that this is the demon tree of Barlow Forest.
Humphreys.
I think we've seen enough of this place, haven't we? Let's get back to the end.
Yes, let's.
All right. Come on.
I say, wait a minute. Have you noticed how dark it is? All of a sudden.
The sun's behind a cloud, probably.
It's impossible to see the sky through this foliage.
It is darker. I can hardly see where I'm walking.
Are you quite sure this is the right way? I don't remember this clearing.
I don't either.
Wait a minute. By heaven, this isn't the way.
Must be. We're on the path, aren't we?
No. No, I don't think we are. It's so dark. Do any of you have a flash?
I certainly don't remember this clearing. I think... What was that?
What was what, Crane?
You'll think this is foolish, but I swear I felt the branch of a tree brush across my face and shoulder.
That's impossible. There's not a tree within 50 feet of us.
But I felt it, I tell you. It rustled like a branch covered with leaves, and yet it felt warm and soft, like human flesh.
Crane, are you sure?
Yes, look, we're lost here. It's dark as night, right in the middle of the afternoon. And we've lost the path and that tree.
Easy, Crane. Keep your head, man.
I'm getting out of here. I'm not going to stay here and be murdered.
Crane! Stay with us.
No. I'm going to find the path and get out of here.
Crane, stay here. We'll find a way back.
I don't want to stay here and die. I want to get away from this place.
Crane! Don't be a fool! Crane!
Gone.
Now he is in for it. We're better off by staying together.
I don't know whether we are or not.
Listen!
It's Crane.
Sounds like he's strangling.
Come on!
Oh, we couldn't have gotten far.
Right over here, I think.
Now, take it easy now. Be careful.
Oh, there he is.
Yes. Stretched out on the ground. Like he was dead.
Look at him.
Oh.
Marks on his throat. Like hands would make.
That wasn't done by hand. See? Stains on his skin. Green stains.
Thomas Wakefield Crane.
Oh, what a horrible way for him to die.
Clara, that tree. This is where we first saw it. Now it's gone.
Humphreys, you're right. This is where it was. I'm sure of it.
Then what's happened to it?
The important question is, what are we going to do with Crane?
We'll have to leave him here till we can find a way out of this place.
Poor Crane. It happened so quickly. One minute he was with us, and the next...
We warned him not to leave us. Now the three of us had better stay close together.
Oh, yes, for heaven's sakes, let's not get separated.
And do come on. There's nothing we can do for Crane now. We've got to find our way out of here.
It doesn't seem right leaving him there.
It's all we can do. Come on.
How do we know which way to go?
We don't. All we can do is keep moving and hope to find the path again.
Oh, it's horrible. Wandering about like this, like nothing but a group of marionettes.
Controlled by what strange puppeteer?
What's that, Humphreys?
I said, controlled by what strange puppeteer?
Humphreys, surely you don't think we've been purposely led into this?
Who can say?
Oh, now, Humphreys. Crane went off the deep end. We've got to keep our heads.
We found a way in. Surely we'll find a way out.
Yes. Yes, we did find a way in. But what about the chill? The darkness?
There's some explanation. Perhaps a storm is coming up. Yes, that could be it. Couldn't it?
Storms don't rise that quickly in this part of the country.
And the darkness. It came down on this forest like a shroud.
Yes. Came so quickly. Reminded me of how a corpse must feel in his coffin when the lid is put over him.
Look here, Humphreys. I'm about fed up with that sort of talk.
Only a fool refuses to face the facts, Danvers. You know this isn't any ordinary situation we're in. The chill of winter in the summertime. Darkness in mid-afternoon. And a tree that strangles.
It was probably just an accident, Crane's death.
Why don't you stop trying to tell yourself that the tree was only an imaginary thing? We all know that it's real.
Humphreys.
And as alive as any of us. The bark did feel like human flesh.
Danvers. Humphreys. Look.
What is it? A glow of light there ahead of us.
It's the tree.
There. Now what do you think, Danvers? Look. It's the tree moving along in a glow of phosphorescent light.
Good heavens. It's the same tree.
It looks like a human giant.
It was nowhere near here. It was back there.
Do you two see what the tree is carrying?
It's carrying Crane. It's got him tucked up under that huge branch that looks like a human arm.
It's fading now. Disappearing again.
Fading away. Yes. Gone. He's gone.
Now do you believe, Danvers? Now do you admit that the tree is alive?
What else can I believe? I don't know.
Danvers, look out!
He's fallen into a water pit.
Help! Humphreys! It's quicksand!
Humphreys, he's sinking.
Help! I'm into my waist! Get me out of here!
Stand still, Danvers. You just sink deeper.
Quick! Help me out of here! Get something I can grab onto!
Here, Danvers.
Danvers, grab the end of that pole. Here, let me help Humphreys.
Grab it, Danvers. Grab it.
The pole, Danvers, grab the end.
I
You are.
can't! That tree branch! It's biting me!
Good Lord. Listen, Clara.
A tree branch. But we can't see it.
I can't get near the pole. The branch keeps biting me back.
Humphreys, do something. He's up to his shoulders now.
I can't make it. I can't help. Save me! Save me!
Why? He'll go under the quicksand and strangle.
Danvers, there's nothing I can do.
That tree! The demon tree! There's no escaping from it.
He's gone.
Poor devil. Didn't have a chance.
Humphreys, we've got to get out of here. We're all doomed. It's the Wakefield curse.
Clara, stop it.
It is the curse. We're helpless. There's nothing we can do to save ourselves.
Clara, stop it.
Humphreys.
Now, we can't give up. We've got to find a way out of this place. Follow me. Be careful where you step. Whatever happens, keep your head, Clara, for heaven's sake.
I'm so tired. We've walked for hours.
I say, it's getting a little lighter. Clara, up ahead there. Isn't that a path?
What? Oh, you're right, Humphreys. It's the path we came in on.
And look, there's an opening through the trees.
Yes, I remember the landmarks. Oh, thank God for the light.
Come on, Clara. Out of this place. There's nothing we can do for Danvers or Crane now. Clara.
Yes?
I wonder if you feel as I do. I thought we'd be safe back here in the hotel. I don't know how to describe it, but I have a feeling that this whole business isn't over yet.
I know. I've had the same feeling. A feeling that we're not finished with the demon tree.
Or that it's not finished with us.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, my room. Better go in and have a drink, Clara. Heaven knows we need one.
Yes, I certainly do.
What's worrying me is how we're going to explain what happened to Craig and Danvers. Yeah, wait a minute. I'll get the light. There.
Humphreys, on the bed there.
Good Lord. The branch of a tree about 2 feet long.
Humphreys, don't touch it.
Look at it. Look at it. A fresh, living branch.
Put it down. Oh, Humphreys, I'm getting out of here.
Where are you going?
Down to the lobby and wait for the stage.
Oh, hold on. I'll go with you. Wait, Clara. Wait, it's 3 flights down. Let's take the elevator.
All right. We can get the thing up here.
It's automatic. Just push the button, it'll come up.
Humphreys, look. Someone left the steel gate open.
I say, that's dangerous.
It certainly is. Humphreys, that branch is pushing me. Drop it. Humphreys!
Good Lord. Clara! Clara! That branch! It pushed her down the shaft. It's after me. Get away! Get away! Help me! Help me, somebody! The tree! The demon tree! It's choking me!
Any descendant of Sir Thomas Hurley Wakefield who enters Barlow Forest is doomed to die, and all who enter the forest with him are likewise doomed.
Dark Fantasy was originally broadcast from radio station WKY in Oklahoma City. Now just look at this plant. I'm stunned, thanks to bioengineering and Miracle Grows. This marvelous plant is already a foot tall. Amazing! Whoa there, little fella. While we wait to see just how big this bugger's going to get, let's listen to an Escape episode called Green Splotches, featuring plants that aren't just moving around. They're walking and killing and planning an invasion of the Earth and blending into the general population by wearing our skins. Listen now to Escape's Green Splotches.
You finding life pretty dull? Dreaming again of exotic places? Wishing you were somewhere else? We offer you escape.
Escape, designed to free you from the four walls of today for a half hour of high adventure.
Green Splotches.
There is no longer any doubt in my mind. Though he walked like a man and talked like a man, Mr. Three was not a man, but a plant. And his country, which he called One, is not to be found upon the earth. It is the only possible conclusion to make after what happened to us in the valley of the Infernal River. The three of us constituted the DeLong geographical expedition to explore and map the wild, uncharted region of the Andes between Peru and Chile. There was our leader, Professor Anton Demetrius, once of the University of Bucharest, and now one of America's most distinguished adopted scientists.
In the valley of the Rio Infanillo, we should find some very significant geological evidence which may well change our present conception of the age of our planet.
There was young Leroy Haskell, the secretary of the expedition. Phi Beta Kappa, Ph.D., and as far as I was concerned, a scientific camp follower. He had written a book.
The material I shall gather on this junket will make a book that should simply dwarf the success of my Reindeer in Iceland. And you know how well received this was.
Then, of course, there was me, John Preston. My job was to survey the region and map it for the first time. There were two native guides, Jose and Pablo. We had been warned from the first. Everyone told us to stay away from the valley of the Infernal River, from which they all said no traveler has ever returned. But we were not to be dissuaded from our purpose. So after a week on the high mountain trails, we came at last to the entrance of the valley. A chasm that could hold 10 Grand Canyons. A vast and forbidding valley. Black, dark brown, and deep gray. A horrible scar. The flesh of the earth burned to a crisp. Far, far below, the twisting gray shimmer of the Rio Infernillo.
This is the place, senor. The Valley del Rio Infernillo.
Do we start back now? We'll spend the next 60 days in this valley.
There was no trail. The mules and pack llamas picked their way between boulders ranging in size from a man's head to his house. Jose led the party, rifle at ready, alert for the slightest danger. The way was steep, pitching us forward against the pommels of our saddles, jostling and jouncing us. It would not be exact to say that I was frightened by this forbidding valley of desolation, but I was depressed by it as I rode along. I was lost in speculation about the warnings we had received when a rifle shot rang out.
Did you see him?
What?
A man or something behind that rock.
Jose had slipped from his saddle, his rifle barrel still smoking.
Jose, come back here.
But he had disappeared among the boulders, swiftly stalking an unseen prey.
What was it, Pablo? Did you see it?
See, it was a man. Look, there they go. Down there between the rocks.
Come on. We slipped from our mules and started down toward the spot where we had seen Jose running after a fleeting, yellowish figure.
It is Jose. Hurry.
But when we got there, all we found was Jose's gun. That was all, except a splotch of green liquid on the stone, and smaller splotches of green splashed on one boulder after another, leading off toward the river. We followed the trail of green splotches, but they dwindled out a quarter of a mile away. We searched for Jose all afternoon, but finally gave up. Toward sundown, pitched our camp near the rocks with the green splotches. While Pablo prepared the evening meal, Professor Demetrius finished a chemical analysis of the green stain.
Well, gentlemen, this material is chlorophyll.
Chlorophyll?
Pure chlorophyll. The substance that makes all plants green.
Where would chlorophyll come from in this godforsaken place where there aren't even any plants?
That is a mystery we must set out to solve.
Oh, look. Look, the moon's rising.
Apropos of nothing.
I like to watch the moon rise. I find it a source of inspiration.
Source of inspiration. Sometimes that knuckle-headed secretary was more than I could bear. In the midst of the riddle of the chlorophyll, he seeks the inspiration of the rising moon. Nevertheless, a moment later, the professor and I also stepped out of the tent into the crisp evening air. Far down at the eastern end of the valley, the disk of the rising moon glimmered between two towering peaks.
It looks whiter and more silvery in this latitude.
She wears a cloud of mist like the veil of a bride.
Does she now?
Look here, Preston, just because you lack the gift of imagery is no reason, but... My God, look! The moon, the new moon, setting in the west.
He was right. Low in the luminescent western sky was the thin, delicate crescent of the new moon. And to the east, the full moon, which we'd been watching, had disappeared. A phosphorescent mist still hung about the peaks. And as we watched, it slowly faded away and left the valley of the infernal river in deepest blackness. It was more than my mind could cope with, but it didn't bother our bright young man. Next evening, Leroy had a curious report for us.
Well, I sold a copy of my book today, Reindeer and Iceland.
What?
Yes, I got this for it.
Gold. Nuggets of gold.
Yes, that's right.
Who did you sell it to?
Yes, what sucker gave you all that gold?
An Indian.
An Indian?
What happened?
Well, I was down the valley today gathering specimens of flora, and I just sat down to eat my lunch when I saw this Indian behind the rock staring at me. Then he saw the corner of the book sticking out of my knapsack. He pointed at it, and he said, "What is that, Reindeer and Iceland?" Well, I was surprised. And then he said just what I had been thinking. That book has a wider reputation than you imagine. I thought it'd be quite a gag to sell one of my books to a Peruvian Indian, so I went into a long spiel about what a really fine and useful book it is.
That shouldn't have been difficult for you.
It wasn't. I ended by telling him that he could have this valuable and excellent example of American literature for only $3.50. What is $3.50? He said. Have I got $3.50? I was just wondering about that, I said. Turn your pockets inside out and receipt. He did. And a lot of pieces of metal spilled on the ground. I took the gold nuggets and told him I'd include the other 4 copies I brought along. He's dropping by tomorrow for them.
That's nice.
Well, I think I'll turn in. It's been quite a day.
Yes, hasn't it?
If I'd brought more copies of my book, I could clean up down here.
Next morning, I was awakened by the sound of groaning coming from Haskell's cot. What I saw there awakened me with a start and yanked me to my feet. Professor Demetrius.
Professor. John, what's the matter?
Come here quickly, please. Something's wrong with Leroy.
What is it?
Look.
Is that Leroy?
Yes.
Why, his hair is turned white.
Overnight.
Well, what in the world happened to him?
I don't know. Here, Leroy. Come on, old boy, wake up. Come on, Leroy, wake up. Come on, fellow, wake up. Come on.
What's the matter?
Now, how do you feel?
You hurt anywhere?
My head aches and my legs burn.
Where?
Right here.
Let me see.
Here on my thigh.
Oh, that's a pretty nasty inflammation.
More like a third-degree burn. Right under your trousers pocket. Leroy.
Yes.
Did you carry that gold in this pocket yesterday?
Why, yes.
And where was it last night?
I put it under my pillow for safekeeping.
Yes, and that accounts for it. That gold is poisoned in some way.
Poison?
Oh, no.
What's the matter?
Here in the mirror. Is that me? Preston, did that stuff turn my hair white? Just tell me.
Yes, my boy, it did.
Oh, no. Preston, look. Look, there he is.
I looked up. Standing in the entrance of the tent was an Indian with an enormous head and thickly painted face. He was wearing the usual white shirt and trousers of the cholo, and he was smiling a faint, ironic smile which made me dislike him intensely. The professor was first to recover from the shock of his appearance.
Did you give our young man here some gold yesterday?
I gave the young man some gold for some books.
Did you know the gold was poison?
Poison? How?
Well, that's what we want you to tell us.
I haven't any idea. What effect did it have?
You can see for yourself.
Is this the same young man?
Yes, you nearly killed him.
Oh, how interesting. It must be the effect of a metal I carried with the gold. I do not know what you call it in your language. Possibly you may never have heard of it. Here is some.
Well, that's radium. Pure metallic radium.
Yes, John. More radium than is known to exist in the entire civilized world. And carried around casually in the pocket of an Indian.
But I was burned by the gold.
That's right, but the gold had become irradiated by this piece of radium, which I might add is worth several $1 million.
You made a bad deal, Leroy. You should have taken the radium and left the gold alone.
I wish I'd given the book away.
Can't you gentlemen ever communicate with each other without using words and sentences?
What?
Huh? Suppose, Mr. Preston, you desire to communicate with Mr. Demetrius. Would you
How do you know my name? Have we met somewhere before?
I'm sure we have not. But when I paused, you talked your name. So naturally I knew it at once. I believe that's the ancient word for it. But Mr. Preston, I perceive that you want to know my name. Well, I have a number. In my country, the citizens are numbered. I'm sure when your own countries become densely populated, you too will adopt a numerical nomenclature.
What is your number?
1752-12,657,109-654.
That might become a little hard to remember. Where do you come from, Mr.
The name of my country is One, or Perth. I dare say each of you comes from a country which you call One. No, I see I am wrong. America? Romania? Very pretty name, but quite unscientific.
Can you read our thoughts before we speak?
Certainly. I take the language forms right out of your own minds and use them. If the teacher has no language at all, one can see that he is relic out of the aluminum age, and that arose from the prehistoric steel age, a very heavy, clumsy metal I have heard archaeologists say.
Oh, breakfast, Pablo. Good, good. Set it up on the table there.
Senor Preston, he is the one.
What's that?
That man there, he murdered Jose. What? Everything he has on is Jose. He wears Jose's clothes and his shoes. On his finger is Jose's silver ring, I know it. I saw him that day when Jose disappeared.
Are you sure, Pablo?
Sí, ciertamente. Pablo is quite right, gentlemen.
You admit that you killed Jose?
Oh, yes.
You realize, Mr. Stree, that your confession will place you in jeopardy of the law.
Oh, then you do have laws in your country.
Why, naturally.
Pablo, take that rope there and tie Mr. Stree to that chair.
Si, senor.
You may consider yourself under arrest, sir.
Give Pablo a hand, Leroy. Tie him securely.
It will be a pleasure.
We will have to carry him before a magistrate. That is most inconvenient.
Professor Demetrius, you have studied physiology?
Yes.
And perhaps vivisection?
Yes.
Then why all this fuss about the killing of a lower animal for scientific ends?
A lower animal? Mr. Stree, we are all human beings. Granted, Jose did not have the intelligence or culture such as we had. Nevertheless, he was a human being.
Senor Preston, the pack animals, look, they've broken out of the corral.
I rushed from the tent, followed by Leroy and the professor. The mules and the llamas had indeed broken through the corral fence and were stampeding down the valley as if pursued by the devil himself. Pablo tried to head them off, desperately shouting and waving his arms, but His efforts seemed silly in the face of their headlong flight. And then my attention was diverted in another direction.
Preston, look! Our tent's on fire!
It was. A sheet of flame licked up the oil canvas and enveloped the ridge.
Our prisoner will burn to death in there.
I'll get him. I ran back to the tent, pulled up the stakes to the rear wall, and shoved into the smoke-filled tent. Mr. 3 was still sitting in the chair where we tied him. He slumped queerly, and the brim of his hat had dropped down to his shirt. There was no time to untie him. I picked him up, chair and all, and rushed out of the tent just as the walls collapsed. It occurred to me that he was remarkably light.
John, is he all right?
Suffocated, I think.
As slow as the burning. Help me beat out the flames. Hey, what's this?
He's collapsed.
The clothes are empty.
No, not quite.
The professor tore open Jose's clothes and pulled from within a human skin.
What in the world?
Padre de Dios. It is the skin of Jose.
How do you know?
See, there on the arm. The tattoo of the cross.
Yes, I remember Jose had such a tattoo.
What does it mean?
It means that somebody or something has been stalking us, disguised in this...
But I don't...
Exactly as a hunter stalks a deer in a deer robe.
Then it wasn't a human being?
It was the devil. They wonder.
He knows he's a human being, but he doubts if we are. Did you notice how supercilious he was? He probably thinks of us as the missing link between the apes and himself. We are animals to him. He puts on one of our skins to hunt us down. As we stood in the merciless sunshine in that black valley of hell, we were 4 frightened men, powerless to combat the kind of magic or witchcraft or super science which opposed us. And then I noticed a strange thing. A rabbit broke from behind a boulder and dashed between our feet, scampering down the valley toward the river. I looked up and saw Vicuna leaping from boulder to boulder, and there, slipping between the rocks, was a panther. Suddenly the whole valley seemed alive with flying animals, all rushing headlong toward the river. Rats, hathawks, civets, and finally a huge yucamare, the great black bear of the Andes, lumbered by so close to us we had to jump out of his way. But he paid us no heed. He was too intent on following the others toward the river.
Now, what in the world?
Look, up the valley, hopping from rock to rock.
What are they?
They look like yellow fleas from here.
Whatever they are, they must be what stampeded our pack animals.
It is the devil driving all the animals into hell.
Look again, Pablo. They're getting bigger. They look like men to me. Yellow men, with the agility of mountain goats. As the strange hopping figures approached, we could see that they carried some kind of short metal rod that flashed in the sun. The closer they came, the more animals rushed by us. Devil or no devil, it was too much for Pablo. As the beautiful speckled deer came into view, Pablo raised his rifle.
Don't shoot. There must be no holes in the skin.
We swirled around. Behind us on a large boulder stood Mr. 3. He was naked, having shed Jose's skin. His face still carried the red paint of his Indian masquerade, but the rest of his body was a soft yellow, like a ripe peach. His feet were disagreeably small, which accounted for the ease with which he escaped our rope. In his hand, he carried a small metal rod.
I must apologize for setting fire to your tent, gentlemen. It was quite accidental. I did it with this focusing rod as I slipped out of your rope.
Focusing rod?
Yes.
What does it focus?
Radio power.
Why, that is the most compact transmitter I've ever seen.
It's really quite primitive. I imagine it came into use among thinking creatures along with fire, the keystone of the arts, and the remote-control rocket. They were all important additions to human knowledge, but their discoverers and the dates of their discovery are lost in prehistoric eras. You men will follow the rest of the quarry to the river. Everyone must go. What did you say? Follow the rest of the animals to the river. Be quick about it.
Now look here, 3. We'll do as we please.
Why should we go?
So our commander can select specimens to carry to the land of one.
Oh, I see. He wishes our scientific advice on the selection of animals. Your advice? You bunch of idiots. He's going to select one of you as a specimen to carry to one. Now get along. I don't want to have to use force.
You won't get us any other way. Take cover, men. The four of us threw ourselves behind the boulders. Mr. Three didn't move. He still stood on top of his rock a dozen feet away. I raised my rifle, got his huge, ugly head in my sights, and squeezed the trigger. But the gun never fired. And suddenly my arms and legs were contorted in painful spasms. My body stiffened, and it seemed as though my brain were on fire. When I opened my eyes, I was flat on the ground, and so were my companions.
I think that you are convinced now of the futility of opposition. So shall we stroll together in the direction of the river?
You realize that you're creating an international incident. The United States of America does not stand for such treatment of its citizens. You better think twice. This thing can get out of hand. It may even become a matter for the consideration of the United Nations, and it can certainly lead to war.
Indeed. That should be interesting. Professor, do you creatures really represent a scientific body?
Why, of course we do. The DeLong Institution.
How quaint.
And I'd like to have some things explained.
I'd be very happy to oblige if I can. Oh, yes, I perceive your questions. We are here to extract radium from the pitch blende in this valley. We do this with a portable furnace. The strange lights you saw in the evenings occurred when we moved our furnace from place to place. We always do that at night. To do so during the day is inconvenient because the sun's rays are apt to create a local ether storm.
Yes, I can see that it might.
Hey, look.
What?
Look ahead there. A flying saucer to end all flying saucers.
As we rounded a huge boulder, there stood an enormous cylinder of metal. It towered at least 750 feet into the air and rested on a stern which could not have been more than 4 feet in diameter. Its huge bulk shored up by metal rods several hundred feet long, which protruded from the ship where the barrel began to taper toward the stern. 500 feet up the side of the cylinder were controlling flames, which looked tiny in comparison to the great bulk, and indicated that it must travel through space at inconceivable speed. Around the base of the ship, squads of yellow men were rounding up the animals in cages and stowing them aboard. They worked with military precision, obviously under orders, although no sound was uttered since all communication was mental. As we approached the ship, 4 yellow men appeared with a large cage, and from a porthole about 75 feet above the stern, another yellow man with a scintillating star on his forehead stared down at us. Mr. Three drew himself up stiffly and saluted. What followed was a one-sided conversation put into words by Mr. Three, apparently for our benefit.
Yes, sir. No, sir. Ordinary ruby-blooded mammals, sir, with intelligence somewhat higher than monkeys, sir. They communicate with simple thoughts exactly as monkeys do, sir, by chattering. They are absolutely insensible to all mental vibrations, sir, more completely than the 4-legged animals. I would suggest you take all 4. They will prove very amusing, sir, in the National Zoo. Their attempts to deceive each other and even me, sir, are quite ridiculous. I believe you will find them much more humorous than chimpanzees. Sorry you haven't to stay. In that case, I suggest we take the brown one. He is the best physical specimen and obviously better adapted to his habitat. None of them have any minds to speak of. Very well, sir.
As the yellow men closed in on him, Pablo whipped out his knife, slashing and stabbing at his assailant. And every time his knife found a mark, green liquid spurted from the yellow body. They finally disarmed him, and in answer to the thoughts that one of them, Mr. Three, said,
I can't use my focusing rod. It might destroy what little mind he has.
A moment later, they were carrying Pablo by arms and legs toward the cage. He turned his pathetic, bloody face toward me.
Send your blessing for the Lord. Holy Mary, save me.
And something snapped in my brain. I started toward Pablo's captors. Mr. 3 leveled his focusing rod, and my brain seemed on fire, and everything went black. When I came to, the yellow men had vanished, and the spaceship stood poised in the light of the setting sun, their ports and hatches closed. The professor and Leroy were leaning over me. John, are you all right, John? I guess so.
That jolt he gave you must have been a nasty.
Rather like the electric chair I had. Where he goes? From the stern of the spaceship, a luminous gas seemed to boil out in whirls of furious racket. The restraining rods were cast off, and the huge cylinder shot straight up into the air at a precision. Blue, green, yellow, orange, red. And disappeared. You mean? Exactly, John. It was going so fast, the light of the exhaust ran through the entire color spectrum. It was traveling at least at the speed of light, 186,000 miles per second.
Look that phosphorescent glow. It's all over the hill.
Yes. And it's all over us. Yes. I believe we are covered with the residual emanations of radium. I suggest we go down to the river and wash it off. Otherwise, it will presently kill us. Professor? Yes? Did you notice the green liquid spurting from those creatures when Pablo knifed them? Like green blood? It was not blood. It was chlorophyll.
But how could...
You see, gentlemen, Mr. 3 and his comrades were not animals. They were plants. What? That's impossible. But true. Well, Leroy, you should be able to write quite an interesting book about this expedition. One that might even outsell Reindeer in Iceland.
Yes, Professor. But who would believe it?
Escape is produced and directed by William N. Robeson. Tonight we have presented Green Splotches, written in 1920 by T.S. Stribling and modernized and adapted for radio by Mr. Robeson. Featured in the cast were Bill Conrad as Preston and Paul Frees as Professor Demetrius. Also heard were Ted DeCorsia, Harry Bartell, Barton Yarborough, and Jay Novello. Special music was arranged and conducted by Del Castillo. Next week...
You are trapped on a lost plateau in the shadowy depths of the Grand Canyon. At your feet lies a fortune in ancient gold, and beside you, holding a gun at your head, is a half-crazed Indian from whom there is no escape.
Next week, we escape with the story of a man who faced the murderous fanaticism of an ancient tribe to recover a fabulous treasure in golden relics, as Paul Pierce tells it in Grand Canyon Suite. Goodbye, then, until the same time next week, when once again we offer you Escape.
Greetings, this is Taliesin, TTLG from Taliesin Meets the Vampires, invading the frequency of fear to give you a rundown of 3 of the funniest moments from vampire films. In recent Swedish movie Frostbite by Anders Bank, there is a rich vein of both surreal and black humour. Vampire and geneticist Beckett has developed a pill that infects users with the vampire virus as he experiments with ways to genetically improve vampire kind. What he never expected was for the pills to be stolen, or that they find their way to a party full of teens looking to get high. In the finale of the film, we see turned vampire Vega hunting her new friend Sega. They end up in a garden full of gnomes, and after some gnome flinging, Sega manages to push her friend onto the stone cap of one of the ornaments, the red cap piercing the vampire's chest. Vega complains that it is a totally uncool way to die, and it is, to my knowledge, the only staking by Gordon Gnome in any vampire movie. Next we have Lucy trying to seduce Jonathan in Mel Brooks' unfairly slated Dracula, Dead and Loving It. In the scene that beautifully parodies the Hammer movies of yore, Lucy's vampire is utterly wanton, and she turns her womanly wiles and plentiful bosom in Jonathan's direction. Suddenly the stiff upper lip is all too apparent. "But Lucy, I'm British," protests Harker. "So are these," replies Lucy, aiming her ample cleavage at him. Brooks' film has been heavily criticised, but if you know your 1931 Dracula in particular, it's a great parody, though perhaps not as consistent as some of Brooks' earlier work. As well as Lucy's moment in the graveyard, watch out for Peter McNichol's over-the-top performance as Renfield. Finally, we come to what has to be the best vampire comedy ever produced, Roman Polanski's The Fearless Vampire Killers. This was a fantastic film with countless hilarious moments that have been lifted time and time again by other filmmakers, especially scenes like the bungled rescue of vampire victim Sarah from an undead ball. It might seem that in a movie with many great comedy moments, it would be impossible to pick just one, and yet there is one line that stands out above all the rest. In the night, the newly turned innkeeper Chagall sneaks into the bedroom of Magda the maid. The terrified maiden takes the crucifix from the wall and holds it out towards her undead stalker, to which the Jewish vampire exclaims, "Oy vey, have you got the wrong vampire?" Sheer genius. To get more information on these and many more vampire movies and books, visit Taliesin Meets the Vampires at taliesinTTLG.blogspot.com. Alternatively, find the link in the links of the Zombie Astronaut.
Somebody order a Metagalactic pizza.
There, big fella. I told you I'd feed you. Who's a man-eating plant? Who's a big, scary man-eating plant? Well, fellow astronaut, that wraps up this podcast. Thanks to Taliesin and Miracle Gross. I'll hear you again in 2 weeks on the frequency of fear. Good Lord. Oh, plant, giving Daddy big hug.
This has been the Zombie Astronaut's Frequency of Fear. For more horror, sci-fi, and suspense audio, see the website at www.zombieastronaut.net. Right now! Maybe you could use a Metagalactic Pizza Hut.